We shall start off with our first speaker, Dr. Anand Parthasarathi, who is a medical director and chief surgeon of the Center for Vision and Eye Surgery, Chennai, who's actually going to show us a case, a different approach to a case. On to you, Dr. Anand Parthasarathi. Could you share your video?
Yes, I have asked Anand to do that. And I must thank everybody for inviting me here, and especially Chitra for calling me a young ophthalmologist. Thank you, Chitra, for that. Anand, could I have my video, please?
Sure, sir.
Okay, from the start. My video is about a slightly different case, and you can reduce the volume. A 31-year-old lady, happy with vision. Anand, could you stop my audio part? Okay, just reduce the audio. Okay, you can continue the video part. And this patient had surgery at 20 years of age. So when we actually examined, she already had a lens with a +10 refraction in both the eyes. And we found that she was actually non-ophthalmic with an axial length of 16 and 16 in both eyes. And the actual IOL power required would have been close to almost 40 plus, 44 and 43 in the right and left eyes. And in these patients, it is important that you have to be aware of the risk of choroidal effusion. We planned basically based on the refraction, which is either the myopic or the hyperopic side. And the sulcus IOL was what we planned. We planned basically a removal of the first lens. We did it and then put a lens in the sulcus. But what we find during surgery is that the original lens has also been placed in the sulcus. So we had to remove the original lens. We did a scleral tunnel, removed this lens. But remember that we don't actually know the power of this lens. So we were actually in a quandary on what the original IOL power would be. So we basically did a scleral tunnel, removed this PMMA lens, which was originally placed in the sulcus, and then decided that we would actually dissect the bag out, not 1, not 5, not 10, but close to 20 years after the first surgery. We dialed the lens basically in location because we had to be very careful that we didn't damage this primary lens, because our lens calculation was based on the 2 sets of calculations that we had done. So we were putting a 3-piece lens in the sulcus, and we of course had to be very careful, and we could not really know the replacement. Now with a spatula, we actually dissected out the bag, the original bag, and we found actually some residual cortex which was present in the sulcus. So we had to very carefully open up the bag, the 2 leaflets, the anterior and posterior. And once we had done that, we then planned to put the lens, which was originally said to be in the sulcus, we put it into the bag and gradually dialed it in. My video is okay. And then did a aspiration, insert the original lens into the sulcus. So the first lens which we put in the bag, the second in the sulcus, and then dialed it in. Of course, now you have to be very careful to do a PI. We did suture the lens, the scleral tunnel, and post-op she had a bit of myopia, and we did the same in both the eyes. And this was the post-op picture. After surgery, she is a happy patient, happy husband, still happily married. I would close the video. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anand. That was a very challenging video which you have shown, but I think I'll involve our expert panel in this. Dr. Minu Mathan, you're with us?
Yes.
So I would want to know that is it possible n number of years down the line that the anterior and the posterior capsular leaflet, which could be so stuck, could be as easily separated as he has tried to show, and he has even tried to remove the cortex from the fornices. In that kind of a situation, yes, he did have a +10, which was a very difficult situation to handle post-op. Could you have given any other suggestions for this case?
No, this, according to me, already the IOL power for this patient has been calculated. So we could have actually planned for a custom-made 44 lens and
Yes.
kept it aside and explant this IOL cleanly and place another one even in the bag or sulcus. But 20 years later, actually he was little lucky that he could open the whole bag. Many a
Yes.
times you won't be able to open the whole bag. Some areas actually will be grossly fibrosed and firmly stuck. We may not be able to dial the lens fully inside. Maybe two places opposite, if we open around 3-4 clock hours, we may be able to place the lens without rotating both haptics into the bag. We may be able to place. Then it is fine. But otherwise, all that ends well is good. But in a non-ophthalmic eye, rather than having two IOLs, I would have left it with just one IOL, which could have
And that
been.
when he's already created a scleral tunnel, and so he could have might as well placed a customized IOL power calculation. Dr. Kamal, do you have any thoughts on this?
I would have dealt with this case in a different manner, Dr. Chitra. I think, again, I agree. Anand has been very lucky to get away with it. I have also presented such cases and also at various podiums. I would have gone simply because I know the refractive error. I know what is the residual refractive error. I would have simply gone for a customized phakic IOL because since it is a nano-ophthalmic eye, phakic IOL's edge size is approximately 80 to 100 microns. I'm not going to be taking much space in the angles. Get it customized made. I would have had the white to white. At the most, I would just need a PI and I would have just simply slipped the lens, a phakic lens, 80 to 100 micron lens on top of this, and voila, perfect magic. I've had some cases operated by me 20 years ago with -17 fibrosis. Children came with pediatric cataract and now they have, severe fibrosis. I can't even dream of dissecting the lens out. And I've tried this technique. It works beautifully. So in my hands, I would have probably gone a simpler, well-trusted path of putting a phakic lens.
I'd just like to respond to just two of the points raised, and they're very valid points. Customized IOL would have been a good option. One is that the original lens was in the bag. Second, I was lucky because of the residual cortex. No, the original lens which I had dissected was, in the sulcus. And then there was a fibrosis or because of the cortex in the bag, it was not really stuck down. Of course, it did require a bit of patience and I've forwarded that part of it. I've only shown maybe a few seconds of it, but that part was probably the most critical part of separating it. But I was lucky because there was some residual cortex and hence these anterior and posterior leaflets were not that stuck down.
Could you have placed a CTR at least having gone your way? Because in the process separation, you could have had some areas of zonular weakness could have got created. Could you have placed a CTR too if the space had allowed? I wondered. And one last question.
Yes, I think that's the point. Yeah.
Anand, in a non-ophthalmic eye,
I would agree.
Yes, Harshul?
Yeah, Anand, what about the IOL power calculation? You see, if you flip the lens, the original lens, I think, which was around plus 30 maybe or 28, whatever it was. So if you put that lens in the sulcus, you need to reduce the power also, no? Because whatever power you're right now calculated is according to the original lens.
Exactly. So that's a very good point. And that's a good point. That's a good point. I was expecting refractive error.
Your voice is muffled, Harshul. Yes.
Can I just...
Yes, Dr. Ramurthy.
Great surgery, Anand, and nice that you got away with it. But teasing out a capsular bag, which is almost 10 years old, is quite a job, especially if it's cortex there would be a dense addition. Yes, conventionally, if the primary lens is in the bag, the secondary lens goes into the sulcus and not inside the bag because that interlenticular fibrosis can occur. But then many of these lenses which have been done years back, maybe after ECC, would be partly in the sulcus. And in these cases, going ahead and placing a secondary lens also in front of it, which has the conventional sulcoflex lens has a concavity on the back surface, you can go ahead and do it. And you have a 10 diopter lens, a plus 15 diopter sulcoflex lens can be placed. And as regards the concerns about the space available, even though these are non-ophthalmic eyes, the lens itself often in these cases are quite big, and the natural lens is about 3 to 4 millimeters in the anterior posterior diameter. And both these lenses put together also, it would hardly come to about 1.5 millimeters to 2 millimeters. And you have done a YAC-PI, rightly so. But I would have just gone ahead and, with the calculation, gone ahead and placed the Sulcoflex lens in this case. And most probably it would have worked out well. Because when you're dealing with these surgeries which have done years back, it's not always that the primary lens is nicely placed inside the back. And you might have to deal with situations like this.
Dr. Harbansh, you have anything to add before we go on?
Yeah, just I wanted to say one thing, that whenever you operate young patients, their back separation is much more easier. And particularly if your lens is in the sulcus, because the equatorial cells are very active. And once the anterior and posterior capsule unite together, there is a sommering type of picture all along. So I have separated many lenses. If it was an older patient, this would have been very difficult. But if you operated 12 years old, 15 years old, boy or girl, you will find that there is a good separation of the anterior and posterior capsule. So I have seen many patients very well get separated. But of course, the hand-on single lens would have been a very good option. But believe me, many young patients who operate, it's very easy to separate any number of years. Because once that ring gets sealed inside, it never gets absorbed. It is there permanently.